compared to cement. Epoxy is quick setting, has a low shrinkage, excellent adhesion, high strength, low viscosity to penetrate even hair cracks, and good resistance to most of the chemicals. However, epoxy gravity based phases should be used only when it is technically justified. Composition के कहता है consist of an epoxy resin and a hardener which react chemically when mixed. Epoxy resins are thermosetting and by suitably proportioning of the mix of the resin, hardener and thinner if necessary. The viscosity of the mix shall be varied to suit all types of conditions. Specification कहता है considering the width, depth, and extent of the cracks and other relevant determines the viscosity of the resin hardener mix, the proportion, pot life, application procedure etc. should be chosen in consultation with the manufacturer. The shear capacity of two mild steel plates should not be less than 100 kg per centimeter square. The epoxy mortar should not be susceptible to fire and explosion during injection process and must be stable under varying climatic conditions. Test certification का the supplier should produce test certificate for pot life test, strength test and the shear test for from approved टेस्ट हाउस है. ठीक है. इक्विपमेंट्स रिक्वायरमेंट का तो न्यूमेटिक या फिर इलेक्ट्रिकल होल ड्रिलिंग इक्विपमेंट होने चाहिए. प्रेशर इंजेक्शन इक्विपमेंट्स ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड मेक विथ नेसेसरी कंट्रोल वेंस एंड गॉज etc. एयर कंप्रेशन ऑफ कैपेसिटी 3 to 4 मीटर क्यूब पर मिनट एंड प्रेशर ऑफ 10 किलोग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर स्क्वायर. पॉलीथीन और मोटल पाइप्स पीस 6 to 9 mm होते हैं. पॉलीथीन प्लास्टर कंटेनर फॉर मिक्सिंग इपॉक्सी फॉर्मुलेशन पोर्टेबल जनरेटर हो जाए. ठीक है. प्रोसीजर फॉर इपॉक्सी ग्राउटिंग द एरिया टू बी ग्राउटेड शुड बी ड्राई एंड फ्री फ्रॉम ऑयल, ग्रीस, डस्ट एंड ऑल लूज एंड अनसाउंड मटेरियल. All cracks should be cut open to a V groove about 10 mm deep by mechanical and manual means. ठीक है. Loose material should be removed by using compressed air and grooved fully sealed using epoxy mortar at least once a day in advance. ठीक है. Nails are driven into the cracks at 50 cm to 50 cm interval along the crack. Holes of 7 mm to 10 mm diameter should be drilled along the cracks in copper or aluminum or polythene pipe pieces of 6 to 9 mm diameter fixed as grout nipples along the nails and allowed to rest on them. ठीक है. Epoxy formation is ejected from the bottommost pipe keeping all other pipes except the adjacent one blocked by wooden plugs. ठीक है. The injection is done using suitable nozzles connected to air compression or by hand operated modified grease guns. Pressure of 3.5 to 7 kg per centimeter square is normally used. As soon as the epoxy comes out from the adjacent open area, they are plugged and pressure increased to the desired level and they maintain for 2 to 3 minutes. ठीक है. The injection nozzle is then withdrawn and the hole sealed with epoxy mortar. The operation is repeated for the other pipes also. Any resin that remains or overflow the copper pipe is scraped off with a metal spatula and the surface cleaned with a rag soaked in non-inflammable solvent. Due to restriction in pot life, it is allowed to mix only a small quantity of epoxy at a time. All proportions should be by weight and mixing should be thorough. Loose viscosity resin may be adapted for thin cracks. A record of materials consumed should be maintained. Precaution while handling epoxy resin. Manufacturer's detailed instruction should be followed for safe handling and processing. Direct skin contact should be avoided and hand gloves, rubber या protective wool should be used. The grease gun syringes should be washed with acetone immediately after use. इसको बार बार वॉश करने जरूरत है. ये देख लो, ये सब 1 2 3 4 सब डायग्राम है, एलिवेशन, ये सब चीज़ें हो गई. ठीक है. इपॉक्सी ग्राउंडिंग का. ठीक है. अब ये क्या तुमको क्या चाहिए? सीमेंट प्रेशर ग्राउटिंग लेना सबसे. द टेक्निक कौन यूज होता है सीमेंट प्रेशर ग्राउटिंग के लिए? कब यूज होते हैं? जब cracks dormant हो, cracks are active but cause of cracking has been determined and remedial action has been taken. When honeycombing present in concrete structure, when masonry is hollow, when deep leached mortar joints are present. ठीक है. Material proportion pressure क्या? Ordinary Portland cement to IS 269 sand and water conforming to IRS concrete bridge code are required with the approval of division engineer. Admixture to impart non-shrinkable properties and to impart flow ability of grout may be added. The method of using admixture may be as per the manufacturer's recommendation. The water cement ratio by weight for the grout should be 0.4 to 0.5. The lower ratio being used when crack width exceeds 0.5 mm. ठीक है. The grout pressure कितने से 2 से 4 किलोग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर. इक्विपमेंट को कुछ यूज होते हैं, देख लो. Air compressor with a capacity of 3 to 4 meter cube per meter with a pressure of 2 to 4 kilogram per square centimeter. Grout injecting material or grout pump with inlet and outlet valves and pressure gauge. This can be power or hand driven. An airtight pressure mixed chamber with a stirrer for proper mixing of the grout and keeping it in colloidal proper colloidal suspension during grouting. Flexible pressure hose pipes for transmitting grout from pressure chamber to pipe embedded in the masonry. Drilling equipment, pneumatic or electric for drilling of holes up to 25 mm diameter, 12 to 20 mm diameter gear pipe with couplers. Procedure for removing the holes are drilled in structure along cracks and in and around hollow spots. If there are several cracks, holes can be drilled in a staggered manner at 500 to 750 mm spacing in board action, covering adequately the area proposed to be grouted. Holes spacing can be altered as per site condition with approval of the engineer. देगा GI piece pipe piece, ये इसका डायमेंशन ये होगा विथ 1 inch threaded are fixed in the holes with cement. All the cracks and annular surface through GI are sealed with cement. All the cracks are cut open to bit shape groove, cleaned and sealed with cement. ठीक है, अब ये प्रश्न आपको पता ही कि 1 and 2 करते हैं, 1 and 2 वाला removed. All the grouts should be sluiced with water through the same component before grouting as per the following sequence so as to saturate the masonry. All holes are then plugged with this with proper wooden plugs. The bottommost one and the two and moved as the water injected. The bottommost should be under pressure. When the clear water comes out through the bottom adjacent hole and the injection of water is stopped and the plug in the bottommost hole, the process is repeated with hole number 238 until all the holes are covered. On the day of grouting, all plugs are removed to drain out excess water and restore before commencing grouting. ठीक है, the same sequence as described above is adopted for injecting the cement grouting also. This grout is also kept fully straight as under pressure throughout the grouting. The grout is carried out freely fusion and or till grout start flowing from the adjacent hole. ठीक है, a proper record of the quantity of grout injected into the hole should be maintained. ठीक है, after grouting curing shall be done for 14 days, 14 दिन के लिए करता है. ठीक है, tail test provided for checking effectiveness of grout. ठीक है, only such quantity of material for providing grout should be used within 50 meter of mixing. ठीक है, grouting equipment must be cleared throughout after use. ये रहा इसका डायग्राम देख लो, 1 2 3 4 नीचे 5 ऊपर. ठीक है, अब डिस्क्राइब इपॉक्सी देख दो. इपॉक्सी में स्पेसिफिक का पता है, रिमूव ऑयल ग्रीस फ्रॉम मेटल फॉर यूजिंग पेट्रोलियम हाइड्रोजन सॉल्वेंट टू आइस ऑन सम फॉर टू प्रिपेयर दिस बाय सैंड और ग्रिट ब्लास्टिंग टू सैंड 2.2 टू आइस पेंटिंग. प्राइमर कोट में क्या करता है, अप्लाई बाय ब्रश ये स्प्रे कोट ऑफ इपॉक्सी जिंक फॉस्फेट प्राइमर to RDSO specification number this to 60 micron minimum dry film thickness DPT using sufficient time gap between two coats to enable first coat of primer to hard dry. ठीक है, इंटरमीडिएट में क्या करते हैं, अप्लाई बाय ब्रश या एयरलेस स्प्रे 1 कोट ऑफ इपॉक्सी मिकॉक्सिन आयरन ऑक्साइड टू RDSO specification this 200 mm minimum thickness to allow it to hair dry. फिर इसी कोट में कहते हैं अप्लाई ब्रश एयरलेस स्प्रे 2 coats of polyurethane aluminum finish to RDSO this for coastal location or polyurethane red oxide for other location to 40 micros minimum DFT giving sufficient time gap between two coats to enable the first coat to hard dry. The finished coat to be applied in soap and touch after if necessary. ठीक है, अब प्रोसीजर ऑफ रिन्यूएबल ऑफ लूज रिबेट ये कहता है रिप्लेसमेंट लूज में कैसे, जनरल में कैसे करते हैं, स्लाइड स्लैकनेस ऑफ रिबेट डज नॉट कॉज लॉस ऑफ रिबेट लॉस. ये क्वेश्चन क्या था तुमको, रिन्यूएबल ऑफ लूज रिबेट. देखो, स्लाइड स्लैकनेस डज नॉट कॉज लॉस ऑफ रिन्यूएबल ऑफ स्लैक लेवल शुड बी डन ओनली व्हेन द स्लैक रिबेट आर इन ग्रुप और आर बंच्ड अप. इंडिविजुअल स्टैक्ड scattered slack rivet need not be touched. Rivet is to be conducted finger loose when the looseness can be felt by mere touch without tapping. Rivet shall be considered hammer loose when the looseness can be felt only with the help of a hand hammer. All rivet removal in a bridge girder shall be done only with pneumatic rivet. In exceptional cases and at localism where pneumatic tools can be employed, hand riveting may be resorted. The following plans shall be kept in mind while carrying out the riveting work. In pneumatic riveting, the driving of the rivet, filling of the hole and the formation of the head should be done by snap mounted pneumatic rammer by delivering quick hard blow on the practically white hot rivet. The rivet should be held tightly against the member through a pneumatically hand pressed dolly. The rivet shank shall be about 1.5 meter less than the diameter of hole. The length of कितना होती है, देखो G plus 1.5 plus 1 for every 4 mm ग्रिप के लिए. ठीक है, स्नैप हेड रिवेट के लिए 0.5 plus 1 किसके लिए, काउंटर संक रिवेट के लिए. ठीक है, होल रिवेटिंग ए लूज ज्वाइंट not more than 10% should be cut at a time. Besides, each rivet shall be placed immediately after cutting with a turned bolt of adequate diameter and length, and then only the next rivet shall be cut. In 50% of the holes cut, parallel drift of correct diameter may be used using turned bolt for other 50%. It is preferable to drill a rivet out than to use a rivet buster, as the latter cuts the rivet head in shear, imparting very heavy shock to the adjacent group of rivets. In a joint where only few rivets are loose, the adjoining rivets are rendered loose while busting the loose rivets. In any case, after the loose rivets in a joint are replaced, it is very necessary that all the rivets in this assembly are rechecked for tightness. At location where replacing rivets is difficult, turned bolts of appropriate diameter and length may be used. The rivet may be heated almost to a white heat to a point when sparks are just beginning to fly off. The whole rivet must be brought to the same heat. The rivet should be driven and the snap removed within 20 seconds of the rivet leaving the fire. The rivet must be driven straight while hot, keeping the hammer coaxial. The riveter must have his staging at a height which enable him to put the whole weight of his body behind the hammer. This prevents it from bouncing. Rivet conforming to IAS specification only should be used. Adequate air pressure 5.6 to 7 kg per centimeter should be ensured for opening of the tool. In the case of long bridges, the air compression or maybe centrally located at a suitable trolley with main pipeline running in board axis with suitable tapping. ठीक है, following guidelines may be followed for replacing of loose rivets in place girder. Removal of strength should be taken up front. ऐसे करते कैसे, all rivets which are hand loose or which have lost 50% of the hair by corrosion इसको हटा देना है. All hammer loose where corrosion has set in between the head and the plate. In end stiffener when the percentage of hammer loose rivet is less than more than 30%. In flange splice when the number of hammer and the hand loose rivet is 30% or more of the total rivet on any side of the splice location, all the rivets should be renewed. All hammer loose rivet at main angle to wave connection up to 1/12 of span from either support of the girder. ठीक है, when loose rivet in end connection of lateral and cross bracing of plate girder span require renewal, all the rivets in the end connection shall be renewed. It is subjected to condition 1 and 2 above above rivets through hammer loose need not be renewed under the following order. ठीक है, किस किस में नहीं करना है रिन्यू देख लो. इन द लैप ऑफ और बट ज्वाइंट or thorough flooring through angle or T immediate stiffener or girder at a main angle to wave connection except those covered in 5 in flange plate में use place. इस सब में करने की जरूरत नहीं. ठीक है, What are precautions to be kept while painting of steel gutter bridge? पहले क्या precautions कौन से रहते हैं देख लो. Bridge painting में कौन से precautions रखते हैं? Paint from approved manufacturer only should be used. Special care should be taken to shift sleeper or girder or rail bed to clean the seating very thoroughly before applying the film. Paint should be mixed in small quantity sufficiently to be consumed within 1 hour in the case of red lead paint or 5 days in case of red oxide paint. दोनों केस में 1 hour 5 day हो गया. ठीक है, while painting within it, a little quantity of lamp black shall be added to the paint while doing the first coat or to distinguish it from the second coat. Similarly, in the case of aluminium paint, a little blue paint can be added instead of lamp black for first coat. Paint should be used within the prescribed shelf life from the date of manufacture. The quantity of paint procured through should be such that it is fully utilized before the period prescribed for its use. Shelf life of various paint in use. Paint lead ready mix में 4 months, red oxide ready mix में 1 year, paint aluminium क्या when paste and oil are not mixed 1 साल, paint और oil जब mixed हो तो फिर 4 months, oil inside boiled के लिए 2 महीने, red lead dry paint का no time. ठीक है, brush should not be less than 5 cm in width and should have good flexible bristle. A new brush before use should be soaked in raw linseed oil for at least 24 hours. The brushes shall be cleaned in linseed oil at the end of each day's work. Dust settled after scraping shall be cleaned up before applying paint. When the paint is applied by brush, the brush shall be held at 45 degrees to the surface and the paint applied with several light vertical or lateral strokes, turning the brush frequently and transferring the paint and covering the whole surface. After this, the brush shall be used crosswise for complete coverage and finally finished with the vertical laterals to achieve uniform and even surface. ठीक है, rags, waste cotton, clothes or similar articles should not be used for applying paints. The coat of paint applied such that the prescribed dry film thickness achieved by actual trial of the particular brand of paint. The applied coat of paint shall be uniform and free from brush marks, sags, blemish, scattering, crawling, uneven thickness, holes, lamp marks, lifting, peeling, staining, cracking, checking, scaling, holidays and alligatoring. ठीक है, each coat of painting shall be left to dry till it sufficiently hardens before the subsequent coat is applied. ठीक है, अगला क्या है, the drying time shall not be less than 3 days in case of red lead paint. The entire content of a paint drum should be mixed thoroughly either by pouring a number of times or by mechanically mixing to get uniformly consistency. The paint shall not be allowed to settle down during painting by frequent staining or mixing. Dryers such as spirit or turpentine should not be used. Mixing of kerosene oil is strictly prohibited. ठीक है, mixing time lag between successive operation as indicated below shall not be exceeded. Between surface preparation and the application of primer coat 24 hours के लिए, between surface preparation and first finish coat in case of patch painting के लिए 40 hours, between primer coat और first finish coat के लिए 7 दिन और बिटवीन फर्स्ट फिनिश कोट और सेकंड कोट के लिए 7 दिन. ठीक है, इतना हो गया. ठीक है, अब सरफेस प्रिपरेशन के लिए क्या करेंगे, इतना चीज़ें हैं, ये आएगा नहीं है, इसको नहीं करना अभी, रहने दो इसको.